Hi everyone, welcome back to another video from eLearning portal. In this video, I want to show you how I solved groups and automatic enrollments from the user's profile fields. Let's look at the scenario I'm faced with. I have one course, but I need to set up different groups in that course. However, I want each group to have their own teacher. Now this is a straightforward process. Where it becomes tricky is I don't want teachers or students with various groups to see each other. Also, what makes it even more tricky, I want users, whether teachers or students, to automatically enroll in that group based on an entry in their profile field. So let me show you how I approach this scenario. First, let's specify the course that I want to add the groupings to. So on my Moodle platform, I will add the groups to this particular course. So I'll open the course. Then the first thing I need to do is I need to activate groupings or groups within my course. So I go to settings, scroll down, let's click on groups, and then group mode should be set to separate groups. You can leave everything on its default, and this is how we activate groups within the course. I'll click on save and display, and now our groups are activated within this course. The next step is to set up the groups within the course. So let's go to participants. Then in the drop-down list here, next to enroll users, let's click and select groups. Now in this window, we can either create groups manually or we can automatically create groups. Choosing auto create groups, you will need to have users already enrolled in your course. So you will need to have a teacher or teachers and students already enrolled in your course. So we'll opt for the creator group, the manual process. But you can also import groups by using a CSV file. So let's click on create group. Then we specify a group name. So let's call this group A. We'll leave the group ID blank. Also, if you want to allocate an enrollment key to that specific group, you can use this and send this to the users and they can access the course via the enrollment key. But we'll leave that on its default, and we want group messaging to be activated. We can also add a picture of the group or an image of the group so that we can identify the group within the course better. Okay, we'll leave this at blank for now. Let's click on save changes. And now our first group is created. So you'll see there's 0 members in our group. So let's create another group by clicking on create group. You'll see now edit group and delete group is now activated, and when you click on a group you can either edit the group or delete the group. Okay, so let's create another group. So this will be group B. We'll leave everything on its default and we'll activate the messaging. Let's click on save changes. So now we have 2 groups. Let's create another group. So we'll create another group. This group's name is group C. So we'll create group C now. Scroll down and activate the messaging, and then we click on save changes. So now we have 3 groups. Okay, so we'll stick to this 3 groups. Okay. The next step we need to do is, remember, we want to enroll users based on a field in their profile field. Okay, so for that we need to install a plugin. So let's go to the Moodle's plugin directory. And here we type in profile field. Click on search. And here you'll see enrolled by user profile fields. Okay, so we'll use this plugin. So I'll click on it and I'll click on download. and I'll download the correct version of my platform. You'll see that if you go back, there's also a profile field enrollment, but if you see, this is 9 years ago, so don't download this one. Okay, we can close this for now. Okay, and now we need to go back to site administration, plugins, and then click on install plugins. We can drag the downloaded plugin to the drop box here and click on install plugins from zip file. We'll click on continue, and now it asks us for a key. Okay, our upgrade key. Let's click on submit. Now we're ready to install this plugin. Okay, so let's upgrade this Moodle database now, and we can close this here. Okay, so there we go. It's successfully installed, and now it asks us for the default role, and the default role will be student. It also asks us for the behavior after attributes. So leave the user enrolled, or we can unenroll the user or suspend the user. So please make sure that it's leave user enrolled, and then enroll user immediately at login. Yes. Okay, so let's click on save changes. The next step will be to create those profile fields. Remember, when I log out now, if I want to register on my platform, there's nowhere to register someone. Okay, so we need to enable that. So let's log in back in on site. Okay, I'm on my course for Moodle. Okay, so here's my course. Okay, so now we need to set up those profile fields. Okay, so let's go to site administration, and then under users, let's go to user profile fields. Okay, so here you'll see there's nothing under user profile fields, and now I need to specify certain fields that I want Moodle to identify and enroll the students into that particular course. So for this exercise, I want to identify or create 3 fields for the users on their user profile field. Okay, so under other fields, I can either create a new category, or I can leave it under other fields and just rename this. So I'll rename this to, let's call this extra information. Okay, and I'll save this. So now it becomes extra information, and I'll create the profile fields under extra information. Okay, or I can call this enrollment information. Okay, so let's click on create a new profile field, and now we need to select, is it a checkbox, is it a date or time, a drop down menu, social, text area, or text input. I'll choose the drop down menu for this. Then I need to specify, and you need to make sure that this is all in small letters and no spaces in between. Okay, so we'll call this institution, and then the name that will be visible on the profile field should be institution. Okay, so that's the name that will be visible on the profile field. Is this field required? Yes. I want to make it required field. Is the field locked? No. Should the data be unique? No. Display on sign up page? Yes. I want to display this on the sign up page. Now, if we scroll down, you'll see under the category extra information, and we can change this later on if you want to. Now we need to specify the drop down list. Okay. The first one, I usually type in select 1. Okay, then just underneath that I can specify certain, remember this is the institution, so I can specify certain institutions or schools. So I'll type in here school A, let's say this is school B. Oops. and this will be, say this is school C. Okay, so we'll have 3 schools. Then the default value, we can leave this on its default. So let's click on Save Changes. Okay, so there's our first profile field, and immediately if you set up as a required field, you'll immediately have to choose which school you are in. So let's update my profile. So let's go back to users and then user profile fields. So there's our first field, institution. Okay, so let's create a new field, and we'll also create a drop-down menu. Remember, this is all small letters, so we'll type in user role, one word. Okay, and here we can specify the spelling, user role, so this will be visible. Okay, so now is this field required? We'll leave it on no, because we don't want to be prompted to actually select the field, but we can change this later on. Display on sign up form, yes, and we'll leave everything as is. Okay, visible to everyone, yes. And now we can specify this will be select your role. Okay, and the first role will be, are you a teacher or are you a student? Okay, everything else we leave. We click on Save Changes. And now a second field is created. As you can see now, we are not prompted to actually select an option as with the previous institution. Okay, so let's create the third drop-down list again, and this one will be the grade. Okay, so let's choose grade. Oops. Okay, and that will be the grade. And we'll choose here yes, and then select your grade. Okay, and then I'll type in here, let's say grade 11, grade 12. Okay, so let's make this grade 10 as well, grade 10. Okay, we can even throw in lower secondary and even IGCSE or even AS. Oops. AS level. Okay. If we're happy, we click on Save Changes. And there's our 3 profile fields that we've just created. Okay, so now we need to go back to our plugin that we've installed. Okay. Remember, we've installed the Enroll by User profile field. So let's go back to that plugin by clicking on Plugins. And then scroll down to where you see Enrollments. And then next to Enrollments, Manage Enrollment Plugins or Manage Enroll Plugins. Let's click on that. And now you need to enable certain plugins or enrollment plugins. So here you'll see the plugin that we've installed, Enroll by User profile field, but you see the eye is closed. That means it's disabled. So we need to enable this. Since we've enabled this, we need to go into the settings by clicking on settings, and then you'll see my 3 profile fields that I've just created. Okay, so you need to select all 3. Or if you've created 4 or 5, you need to select them all, okay, to actually activate them, and then click on Save Changes. Okay, so that's done. We go back to our plugins. Then we scroll down, and just next to authentication, manage authentication. Now we need to enable email-based self-registration. Okay, what does this mean? It means that currently, if I log out now, and if I want to log back in, there's no way a user can register here. Email-based self-registration will allow the user to actually register on my platform, and it will also allow them to select those profile fields that I've created. Okay, so let's log back in. let's go to our site administration, and under plugins, let's go to authentication and then manage authentication. Okay, so here you'll see email-based self-registration. It's also disabled. I'll click on enable this. If I scroll down, you'll see self-registration is disabled. So I'll need to enable this as well. Okay, allow logged in via email. You can allow this, or allow accounts with the same email address. You can allow this. Prevent account creation when authenticating. You can actually leave all of these on its default. Okay. If you scroll down, please make sure that you actually use a reCAPTCHA key or site key. Okay, this is very important so that not anyone can register on your site. So make sure that you use or you create such a key for your website. Okay, if you're done, click on Save Changes. Okay, so now we're done. In order for the groups to only see their group members, like the teacher will only see his students and no other students, you need to set up the permissions on within the course. So go to Participants, and then in the drop-down list, click on Select Permissions. And remember, we are looking at the teacher's permission. Okay, so in the advanced role override, select teacher. Okay, and now in the filter, type in group. Okay, so here you'll see all the group permissions that the teacher has. Okay, he can manage groups, and that's okay. He can post to all groups you have access to, that's okay. But access to all groups, this should be either prevented or prohibited. Okay, let's click on Save, and this setting here will provide teachers only access to their particular groups or their particular students. Okay, so let's click on Save Changes. So one last setting that we need to change is within the course. So let's go back to the course, scroll down to where your course is. So there's my course. And again, click on Participants, and then the drop-down list. Now we need to select the enrollment method for this course. So under enrollment methods, you'll see there's manual enrollments, but if you click on Add Method, the drop-down list, you'll see that Enroll by User Profile field is also accessible there. So click on it. Now you need to specify an instance of that enrollment type. So we'll call this User Profile Field Enrollment. Okay, you can change it to whichever name you want. The role will be student. Okay, and then group assignment, you can assign it to certain groups, group A, group B, group C. So it's better that you specify here. So let's say you want this enrollment to be group A. So you can specify here, let's make this group A enrollments. Then it's the student. Now you can select a group. So this is group A. So all the enrollments will be added to group A. Okay. Then the user profile field that you want the users to be identified in that. Okay, so let's say the grade, you can select here options. So there's the grade, there's the institution, there's the user profile field. So if a user specifies he's in grade 10, he'll be added to group A. Okay, now we can add another condition by clicking on Add Condition, and then we choose institution. If the user specifies he's in school A, he'll be added to that group A. And then one last condition is the user role. If the user is a student, he'll be added to that. Now you can play with these naming of these fields. just to make sense of your site, but this is just an exercise that I'm showing you. Okay, so the behavior, leave the user enrolled. Okay, so the logic behind this is we create an instance of group A enrollment. The role of the student that will be enrolled is a student. He will be automatically enrolled in group A. Then by looking, if the user chooses on his profile field he's grade 10, he's from school A, and he's a student, he will be enrolled in group A. Okay, so that's the logic behind this. Okay, so let's click add method. Okay, if we want to change this, there's group A enrollment. Let's change this. And let's specify this as students. Okay, so this is group A enrollment for students. Okay, and click on, make sure that it's set on leave users enrolled, save. Okay, so there's our group A enrollments for students. Now we create another one. So let's say here this is group A enrollments for teachers. Let's call this teachers. Okay, so there's group A for teachers. I'll choose teacher here from the drop down list, and this will be group A. Okay, in the grade, the teacher also selects grade 10, as well as the institution, school A, and the role he will select is a teacher. Oops. Teacher. Okay, so the logic behind this is a teachers group. The role is teacher. He will be added to group A. If he selects grade 10, school A, teacher. Okay, I'll add this method. So leave the user enrolled. I'll click on add method. So now we have a group A for students and a group A for teachers. Okay, so the next one will be group B for students, group B for teachers, group C for students, group C for teachers. Okay, so again, enroll by user profile field, and this is group B, and this is for students. Okay, I'll leave it on students, and this will be for group B. So that's why it's important to set up the groups before, so that it becomes active here. Okay, this will be grade, let's make this grade 11. Add a condition, let's make this would be institution, and this will be my school B. And add a condition, this will be my role, and this will be a student. Okay, leave users enrolled, and this will be group B, students. You can call this enrollments. And this is students. Okay, so let's click on add method. So now we have group B enrollments, and he's a student. And the last one, again, group B enrollments, and this is for teachers. Okay, we'll select teacher here. This is group B, and this is for grade 11, and then add a condition, institution, and this is for school B. Add a condition, and this is for a teacher. Oops. Okay, leave the user enrolled, click add. Okay, so now I have my group A, my group B, my students, and my teachers. So now we need to test this. Okay, so let's log out. And now you'll see when I log back in, you'll see now the create a new account is active. Okay, so we'll click on create new account. We'll choose a username. So let's call this handicap. And I'll choose a password here. Okay, email address, that's andy@gmail.com. Make this 23. Let's copy this and paste it here. His first name is Andy, and his last name is Cap. Makes this Andy's Caps. Okay. Country you can choose, and now you'll see institution, user role, and grade. These are the extra information that we've graded. So I'll choose here, choose school A, user role, I'll choose student, and then the grade will be my grade 10. Okay, I'll create an account, and immediately Andy will receive his login details. You can now log in. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so now let's try to log Andy in. So we'll use Andy Cap, specify, okay, password, and let's log in. And there Andy's login. Okay, never. Let's cut this. Okay, so now Andy Cap is logged in. Let's look at his profile just to make sure. So there's Andy's Caps, and he's logged in, and you'll see his institution is school A, his user role is student, and he's in grade 10. And you'll see here the course that he's automatically enrolled in is Moodle Teacher, a training for course developers. Okay, so Andy's a student, so let's enroll a teacher now. So let's log out. Okay, log back in, create an account. So let's use Andy Teacher. Okay, specify a password, email address andyteacher@gmail.com. Let's copy this, paste it here. Okay, so Andy Teacher, and this is teacher. Okay, we can specify a town, select a country. Now we select school A, user role is teacher, and now the grade is grade 10. Okay, I'll click on create a new account. Andy Teacher. Okay, so Andy Teacher, I'll click on continue. Okay, so now let's log in as Andy Teacher. So this will become Andy Teacher, and the password. Okay, let's log in. And immediately you'll see, got it. This is, let's go to the profile. This is Andy Teacher, and he's enrolled in that course there. He's from the country, institution, his role is teacher, and he's in grade 10. Okay, so let's go to that course. Let's look at that course. So there's the Moodle training for course developers. He clicks on it. Remember, this is Andy Teacher. Okay, so now let's end this tour. Let's go to participants, and you'll see Andy Teacher and Andy Cap, my student role and my teacher's role. Okay, so both of them, they can only see each other. So if I enroll now someone else in this course, Andy Teacher or Andy Caps won't see those users. So let's test out that theory. So let's log out. Okay, so now I need to create a new user. So I'll create a new account. Remember, it's now B. Okay, so let's call this student from school B. Okay, let's create a password, and then we'll copy this and we'll paste it in here, at gmail.com. Okay, let's copy this again and paste it there. His first name is student and his last name is B. Okay, let's select a country, and then this is now school B, and his role is a student, and he's in grade 11. Okay, let's create an account. It's student B. Okay, create. So there's the account created. Continue. Okay, so let's register the teacher. Let's create a new account, and this is, let's call this teacher B. Oops. And then password. Okay, let's call this is the email address of the teacher at gmail.com. Okay, let's copy this and paste it there, and this is the teacher B. Okay, let's select country and then institution. This will be school B, this will be a teacher, and this will be grade 11. Okay, create an account. Okay, so both accounts were created. Okay, so now let's log in as this teacher and the student. So it will become teacher B. Oops, a daisy. Teacher B. Okay, and that will be... Okay, let's log in. So there my teacher B is logged in. Got it. Okay, so profile. You'll see that there's teacher B, also enrolled in that course. Teacher B is from school B, teacher's role, and grade 11. Okay, so let's log out, and then let's log in student B, password. Let's log in. Okay, so there's student B, profile, also enrolled in that course, but it's school B, student, and grade 11. Okay, so now let's look at what this student can see. So let's access the course. Okay, so here I'm in the course. So here's the student B in the course. Okay, so there's some little tours. Okay, so let's click on participants. And you'll see only student B and teacher B and student B you can see. Groups are inactive, so you won't be able to access any other groups. You will only see his teacher and the students that are in student B or in group B. Okay. Also, if I log out and I log back in as the administrator of this site. So let's log in as administrator. And now you'll see if I go to that course, click on the course. If I go to participants, you'll see I have teacher B, which is a teacher, and Andy teacher, which is also a teacher. So I have two teachers here and two students here. But only teacher B and student B can see each other. And only handicaps, which is student A and teacher A, will see each other within that particular group. I really hope this video was helpful. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for further videos on my channel.